My name is Kristen Constance and I'm 43 years old. I was born in Australia. I have a diploma in community welfare and professional counselling. I was ritually abused and mind controlled between the ages of 3 and 9 in the eastern states of Australia. Ritual abuse occurs in Australia and is at the core of a criminal stratum that manufactures child pornography. Individuals in these criminal groups have been successfully prosecuted, but the groups themselves and larger networks have not. Survivors in Australia face a number of barriers that prevent them from securing their safety. A former New South Wales policeman who investigated ritual abuse cases said, "As soon as you find someone willing to talk, and they want to talk, they could end up at the bottom of the harbour." There are few effective services available for ritual abuse survivors in Australia. There is also little recognition of ritual abuse by law enforcement and government agencies. Although Australia has recognised ritual abuse as a legitimate reason to gain refugee status, it could only boast a handful of court prosecutions that can prove the link between child sexual abuse and devil worship. Ritual abuse includes satanic ritual abuse, but is not limited to only that. In 1998, the Australian Refugee Tribunal accepted a German ritual abuse survivor as a refugee. The tribunal stated, quote, that the German government has been ineffective in stopping their illegal activities, unquote. Perhaps ritual abuse only takes place in other countries. A survey in Melbourne, Australia, identified 153 cases of ritual abuse between 1985 and 1995. 98 social workers, psychologists and counsellors contributed to this survey. 38 people from Australia filled out the extreme abuse survey. 55% of them reported ritual abuse and mind control. I was one of them. Michael Salter, who wrote a chapter in ritual abuse in the 21st century, has just completed a PhD last year. The title of his work is Adult Accounts of Organised Child Sexual Abuse in Australia. In his study, he interviews 15 ritual abuse survivors, and I was one of them. In the interview that was conducted, I describe in more detail the process of colour programming under a pseudonym. I interviewed a reputable psychologist in Australia who has worked with survivors over a 20-year period. She has seen approximately 20 clients who say they have been ritually abused and mind controlled. Out of those 20 survivors, 2 of them have allegedly been abused by Freemasons. My grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason who belonged to several Masonic lodges. He and my grandmother founded a chapter of the Order of the Eastern Star in the suburbs of Sydney. I have been in therapy for 20 years now, 16 with my present therapist. The most difficult part of my recovery has been healing from a left-right colour program split that regularly dissociates me. I started having trouble with my memory in my second year of studying nursing when I was 18 and I could not pass my exams. I started remembering incest when I was 24 and the ritual abuse and mind control not long after that. I have been hospitalised on 3 occasions. On my first time in the psychiatric ward of one of the major teaching hospitals on the west coast of Australia, I was diagnosed with having a brief reactive psychosis, Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, and an abnormal EEG indicative of temporal lobe epilepsy. I had forgotten to eat or drink that day and I could not stop crying and I drove myself to hospital. My first psychiatrist gave me a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, but she quickly changed that to dissociative identity disorder as the altars made themselves known. Not long after the diagnosis, I tried to commit suicide in a park opposite a Masonic building. I survived taking 3 bottles of pills. I swallowed a bottle of anti-anxieties, a packet of antidepressants, and a bottle of antipsychotics. I did not even go to sleep. I consider myself lucky because my family moved from the east coast to the west coast of Australia when I was 9. And as a result, the ritual abuse by cult members stopped. Other types of abuse continued, but being taken in the middle of the night to attend rituals stopped. My sister, who is 7 years older than me, also has memories of ritual abuse. One day when I was 26, she asked me if I remembered the underground chambers. I replied yes. She then asked if I remembered the children crying. I said no, but I know they were there in the other rooms. My sister does not remember as much as I, but I am sure she has a lot more damage than me. She did not leave the east coast of Australia until she was 16. My sister believes that she has been through a process which Scientologists call PDH, or pain drug hypnosis. She believes that some organisations use the technique of applying pain with drugs accompanied with hypnotic suggestions. These suggestions or commands are also known as implants. Scientologists have been describing this process since the 1950s. When my sister has had sessions on the galvanic skin response monitor, or E-meter, that Scientologists use, she had readings that suggested she has experienced hypnosis in her past. The skin response monitor is basically a biofeedback machine that gives instant feedback of a client's state of relaxation and immediate emotional reactions. Just before coming to the conference, my sister said she had read positive on the E-meter to memories of being raped on the altar, having electric shock treatment, seeing men in black robes, and being forced to drink blood and eat human feces. I also consider myself lucky because 17 years ago, when I confronted my mother and father with the ritual abuse, my mother said she was not involved with that. But here is the suitcase of your grandfather's Masonic paraphernalia. She has apologised for not being a good mother to me. I think this is the closest acknowledgement of the abuse I will get. This suitcase has confirmed so much for me. It has copies of passwords, hand signals, and ritual information for the Freemasons, along with aprons, jewels, and medals that my grandfather and grandmother wore at meetings. I had remembered the colours of the star, and my altars coincided with the points of the star. I felt like I had found the key. On the Order of the Eastern Star emblem, red is on the top left point of the star, and blue is on the top right point. In my mind, red had control of the left side of my body, and blue had control of the right side of my body. The emblem was found on paraphernalia that could be found throughout my grandfather's house. I have integrated 26 personalities during my years in therapy. I only have 2 left that are being stubborn and demand more answers before they integrate. I have integrated animal altars, which were mostly cats and tigers. My animal altars helped me survive basic life and death situations. My tigers supported me during starvation and imprisonment. My left red split took all the pain, and my right blue split was strong and continued to get stronger. I still have many unanswered questions about my abuse, and hence my need to travel to find more information. During the height of my disability, I could not work for over 10 years, but now I am working full-time in the disability field. I remember being in cages, electric shocks, being cut, raped, photographed, drugged, hypnotised, starved, light deprived, beaten, oxygen deprived, and sleep deprived. I have been put in coffins with spiders. I have participated in rituals inside halls and in outside bush settings. I have been tied to altars. I have participated in mock births and deaths. I remember trapdoors in halls and have been taken numerous times in the middle of the night to attend rituals. I have been cut, pricked and pierced for bloodletting to be used in rituals. I have sustained type 4 damage of female genital mutilation, which is the least kind of damage that can be sustained, according to the World Health Organization. The colour programming I went through took place in underground chambers. Each room had a different colour, and different programming was perpetrated in them. Colours seemed to correspond with the points of the Eastern Star: blue, yellow, white, green, red, and black in the middle. The red room had a light, a gurney, a table full of torture instruments and electric shock equipment. The right side of my body was covered up, while experiments with electricity took place on the left side of my body. Electrodes were placed on my joints and produced crippling pain that I experience to this day. My head was free as they whispered things into my ears and electric shocks were applied to each temple. This was how red was created and reinforced. A woman asked me programming questions, and no matter how I answered, I was always wrong. I dissociated many times. Red and her altars appear to be a groundwork for a sexual victim that can be passive to pain under any circumstance. She tolerated many blood rituals and rapes and feels most of my pain. In the blue room, there was a blue light, a gurney, electric shock equipment, buckets and a sink. The left side of my body was covered up and the right side of my body received electric shocks. The shocks were applied to my muscles, and I often felt stronger after these sessions. Blue appeared to be a personality created to obey orders and feel no pain. She can be very angry and aggressive and will do whatever it takes to survive. I feel mostly programmed as these two colours, and my sister feels more programmed as white. I do not understand what they were trying to achieve with a left red and a right blue colour split, but I hope to find more answers. I became aware of the red-blue split early in my therapy, near 20 years ago. As I became more co-conscious through therapy, I came to understand how they controlled each side of the body. I have researched 5 sources of information from survivors who have been colour programmed. There are strong similarities between the colours. Blue is described as protective, does not experience pain, does not get hurt, strong and sometimes military. Red is described as sexually abused, participating in blood rituals, and used as a sex slave. I don't know if everyone programmed by the Masons receives this basic type of colour groundwork. I suspect that according to personality type, certain colours are accentuated and worked on. Perhaps order of birth has some influence over which colour is accentuated. I don't understand what they were trying to do or what they were trying to create. I tend to wonder about what their master plan was meant to be. Red experiences pain from my left ankle, knee, hip, elbow, ear and eye, and left temporal lobe. When I have been triggered, I end up curled up in front of the heater on my left side, in pain. I experience my right blue side as unaffected by the abuse. I don't have as many nightmares as I used to, but I am still having sleeping problems. I have not been able to sustain many relationships, but I am proud of an ever-growing circle of friends. I have never wanted children. I have always wondered why people would want to bring children into this world. I assumed all children would be hurt and have chosen not to have any. The methods that have helped me the most in my healing include Gestalt therapy, massage and exercise. I am doing a lot of walking and cross-training at the moment, so both sides of my brain can learn to work together. It seems a very long process for both my left and right hemispheres to learn to communicate and coordinate together. The left side of my body has sustained a lot of injury. My brain seems willing to sacrifice the left side of me for my ultimate survival. The ritual abuse stopped when my family moved to the other side of Australia, but incest and abuse did continue till I moved out of home when I was 18. My father is alcoholic and my mother continues to live in denial, although she will answer my questions when she can. My sister continues to struggle with her mental health. Today I continue to work as a disability support worker and my therapy is coming to a close. I have come to the realisation that I may never be fully integrated, but co-consciousness has helped me achieve many goals that I never thought possible, like attending this conference. My greatest achievement has been pure survival, and anything that happens now is a bonus.
She's an assassin of love. She's an assassin of love.